Hi, good morning. We're going to go ahead and do our reading lesson for the day. We're going to read the rest of the story that we started yesterday. Remember, it was Sulphur Springs Challenge. So we're going to be on the second part of the story. This is going to be on page 439 in your book. All right. It's a little bit longer than yesterday's part. Yesterday's part was pretty short. The boys were just looking forward to it. They were old enough. Now they could go down the trail. They went to the reunion and they ate and they did all the things they were supposed to do, and then we ended up, they started off on the trail, and they were excited. All right, and then we also looked at a map yesterday of that area, so that was kind of neat. So we see how big it was. All right, let's look at page 439 at the very top. This part of the story is called Brave Enough. Now I want you to follow along with me as I read, okay? The trail followed a shallow creek that widened and narrowed as it flowed through the trees. The boys stuck to the trail most of the way, stopping occasionally to poke sticks into the water to disturb whatever might be living there. Soon the trail became rough with rocks and tree roots, and the sticks came in handy for climbing up and over the obstacles. "Look!" Travis pointed through the trees. "There it is!" The far end of the dam was just visible through the green boughs of the pine trees. The boys clambered over the rocks and roots as fast as they could. Just beyond a curve in the trail, the trees ended abruptly. The dam stretched out before them. Its rough-hewn rock surface held back the water of a small lake. Along the edge of the lake lay the crumbling walls of an old pump station. Zach stepped over a pile of rocks. It seemed a lot bigger last year. "Yeah," Chris followed him. "The dam doesn't look so big either." Travis kicked at a crumbling wall. "Maybe it's because we're older." Chris jumped down into a round rock enclosure. "Here's the old wheel that used to open the dam. Maybe the three of us could turn it." "Nah, we try that every year. It's rusted tight." Zach headed for the dam. "This year, let's walk across the dam." "I don't think that's such a good idea," Travis said. "It may not look as big as it did last year, but it's still dangerous. Look." Large rocks interlaced with fallen trees lay just below the boys. If you fell on those, there'd be no saving you. And if you fell the other way, you'd probably drown. Chris pointed at the dark, murky water. "They'd never find your body." "But I'm not going to fall." Zach stood at the edge of the dam. "I'll cross over, and if you two aren't still chicken, you can follow me." Travis climbed over the wall to stand beside Zach. "You won't make it all the way. It's covered with water out there in the middle." Zach laughed. "A little water never hurt anyone." "Maybe not, but there's algae under that water. I can see it from here. You'll slip for sure." "Oh, give up, Travis. You're just afraid because your dad told you it was dangerous. You wouldn't walk across your own front yard if he told you not to." "And what's wrong with that? My dad says if you recognize danger and steer clear of it, you don't have to regret some dumb mistake." Travis stepped in front of Zach and crossed his arms. "I'm not crossing the dam because I want to get back home in one piece. Maybe that means I'm scared, but you know what Mr. Wentworth said in Sunday school? God gives us the common sense to recognize danger, so we'll know to walk away from it. I don't think not walking across the dam makes me a coward." "Well, since I don't sense any danger, I guess I don't have to walk away, do I?" Zach stepped out onto the dam. "I'll show you there's nothing to be afraid of." "What if Travis is right, Zach?" Chris pushed his hair back from his forehead. "He's not, and I'm going to prove it." Zach took another step. Carefully placing one foot in front of the other, Zach walked out onto the dam. Travis and Chris held their breath as he crossed the slippery section where the water spilled over. Zach gave a shout when he reached the other side. "Come on over, it's easy." "No, you come back." Travis shielded his eyes against the sun. "And be careful." "I made it over, didn't I?" Zach started back. When he reached the water, he paused for a moment, then moved forward. One step, 2 steps, and then it happened. Zach's foot slipped. His body jerked. His arms grabbed at the air, and he disappeared into the lake. Chris grabbed Travis's arm. "What are you going to do? He can't swim!" Travis shook himself free. Off came his shoes. In 3 bounds, he reached the edge of the water, keeping his eye on the place where Zach had gone down. He jumped in feet first. The cold water closed around him. One strong kick, and he rose to the surface. He could see Zach just a few yards away. With a few quick strokes, he reached him and grabbed him from behind. I gotcha! Travis grabbed a breath of air before the water closed over their heads. Still holding on, he kicked back to the surface. Zach's arms flailed. His fist hit Travis in the face. Cut it out, Zach! I've got you! Underwater they went. Again, Travis could feel his grip loosening. When they reached the surface this time, he flipped his hair out of his eyes and spit the lake water out of his mouth. Give up, Zach, or we're both going to drown. He tightened his grip. Zach quit swinging and relaxed just a little. Hang on and I'll get us to shore. Travis was glad to feel Zach help kick as he pulled toward the bank. Chris pulled Zach up onto the bank. Travis flopped down beside him. Zach sat up and coughed. That was close. He leaned his head on his knees. I thought I was gone for good. Yeah, me too. Chris sat down next to him. If I hadn't been here, Travis, you would have been. Zach lifted his head to look at Travis. How'd you know what to do? Lifeguard class at the pool. The last thing we learned was lake rescue. Travis pushed his wet hair back from his forehead. I sure never thought I'd have to use it. Zach squeezed the water out of his shirt. If I'd listened to you, you wouldn't have had to use it. Talk about dumb things to do. I never should have done it. Yeah, but you were sure brave to try. Chris grinned at Zach. I wasn't brave. I was just scared as you were. I just didn't want you to know it. So I did a stupid thing. Zach threw a stone into the water. I guess I just don't have any of that common sense Mr. Wentworth was talking about. You have it all right. You just didn't listen to it. Travis threw one after it. So if I'm afraid to tell my dad what happened because I decided that telling him is a scary thing to do, does that mean my common sense will tell me to stay away from that too? Zach pulled himself up to sit on a piece of the wall. There's a book. Travis laughed. I don't think so, Zach. I think Mr. Wentworth would say that that kind of fear is the kind you face and overcome because it keeps you from doing the right thing. So let me get this straight. If I'm afraid of something dangerous and walk away, it won't make me a coward. But if I'm afraid to do the right thing and I walk away, I will be a coward. Zach ran his fingers through his hair. You got it. Travis held out his hand to Zach. Now all you have to do is do it. Boy, I'm glad I'm not in your shoes, Zach. Chris stood up and brushed off his pants. I sure wouldn't want to have to tell my dad. Zach took Travis's hand and pulled himself up. Well, the punishment my dad gives me won't be anywhere near as bad as falling on those rocks or drowning in that lake would have been. He headed down the trail, then stopped and looked back. But I will tell you this, telling the truth won't be as easy as falling off that dam. Travis laughed, but it won't kill you either. All right, so one of the boys didn't listen. There was a very good lesson to learn in that story, wasn't it? So would you say the lesson to learn in that story, it really came down to one thing, where the little boy said on page 443, I think Zach said it. He said, so let me get this straight. If I'm afraid of something dangerous and walk away, it won't make me a coward. But if I'm afraid to do the right thing and I walk away, I will be a coward. And that is right. And I think that's the lesson that we can all learn from this story. And I always tell Zadok, my little boy, about being prudent. Being prudent means that you can foresee danger and you can turn from it. There's a Proverbs that talks about it. I think maybe it's Proverbs 3 or Proverbs 12 or something like that. Maybe 22, I don't know, somewhere in the Proverbs. It talks about people who are prudent. They can see danger ahead. They can't see it with their eyes, but they know it's ahead. And so they turn away from it like, I'm not going to get involved in that. I'm not going to have any part of it because I know what's going to happen. Or I know what can happen, and I don't want to even take a chance on that. But foolish people look at that and go, well, if I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. And if something happens, oh, well, I'll take the consequences. That is what a fool does. And a prudent person would foresee that and turn away from it and then not get hurt. So that's the lesson that we can take from this. So, all right. So your assignment today, we have one work text page, but it's for you to do as a grade because it's going to help me know that you understood the story that we read, okay? It's going to be page 176, and there's only 6 questions, and you have to circle the right answer. These are the drawing conclusions. What that means is what you think it means or what you think is going to happen. So you'll just read the problem and then circle the conclusion, what you conclude about it, what you learn about that. Okay? And there's only one answer on each problem. And then we will give you a grade on that. Okay? And that is all your lesson for today.